Well, friends, it's been a minute, but we're back. Father Figures Season 2 is upon us, and we're excited because this season we're going to be delving into a couple of specific topics in each season that we present. This is Season 2, and in this season we're going to be talking pretty directly to the impact of all of the little devices all around our lives. The impact of screen time, the impact of device use, the impact of how family life has changed since I was a boy. Because, let's be honest, since you were a kid, that was the model you had. That was the world you understood. And whatever age you're up to now, you've got 2 or 3 comparison series to go through. You can go through what it was like when you were a kid, what it was like when you were a teenager, when you had your first job, all those sorts of things. And now in this middle part of my life, the middle-aged part of my life, I'm reminded over and over of Ephesians 6, where it says, "Fathers, don't exasperate your children by coming down hard on them, on the things that they don't understand, for all of the reasons we know. They haven't, we live forward, we understand backwards. They don't know what you know, so don't come down hard on them. Take them by the hand and lead them in the way of the master." That's Ephesians 6:4. The whole point of this journey is that we get to walk it out one step at a time, and we're trying to do it in communities so that we can help one another. But I've got to say, I'm a Xennial. I'm between generations X and Y. I'm in that no man's land when it comes to the sociologists measuring out which generation you are. And all that means is my world started out analog and became progressively more digital. So we were the first adopters of mobile phones. I remember going to uni, and first year uni, suddenly people were communicating with this magic tool called email. Had no idea what it was or how to use it. Many people would suggest to you I still don't, but that's not the point. I've grown up into it. My children, though, were born into a digital world. The digital world is ubiquitous. It's everywhere. They use their mobile phones to log in for work hours, to get shifts. My son was applying for several jobs and uni the other day, and all of that was done from a handheld device. We can't get away from it. The world is digital now. In fact, most of the money now, I don't know the last time I actually took a wad of cash out of my wallet. I just tap digital things on other digital things and digital transactions happen. I don't know. I'm hoping it's all legit, let's be honest. The point is this, that it is impacting the way that our children go about their world, and it's impacting the way we try and lead them. And it does cause exasperation for both parent and child. Again, that scripture says, don't exasperate your children by coming down hard on them. The reason we often come down hard is because the child doesn't understand what they've done wrong, but often the parent doesn't understand how to change the behavior of the child. There's an understanding gap. So in this season, we're going to attempt to fill in some of the gaps. And in this first episode, I'm really excited to introduce you to a new friend of mine, friend of the stations, and probably he's been a mate of yours for ages, I don't know. His name's Noddy Sharma. Most recently, he started a thing called the ABLE movement. And the ABLE movement, well, I'll let him explain it to you. My name's Justin, and this is Father Figures. Welcome back. I can't believe we've actually made it back to Father Figures. They let us back in the studio. They let us turn the mics on. They've even let us play with the new toys here at Light FM. So thanks, everybody. This is Father Figures Season 2. And my special guest today is my former professional golf coach, Noddy Sharma. How are you, sunshine?
Mate, I am well. Thanks for having me.
No, look, honestly, I'm sorry I missed the first, second, and all of the lessons that you were offering in golf.
You
20
hate
years
golf.
ago.
What are you talking about?
I don't understand golf at all.
Yeah, no, you don't.
I don't. Well, no, I get it. I get it. No, here's my theory about golf.
Yeah, okay, go.
Men suck at talking. The only way we are good at talking is if we're doing something together. But building is too loud, and music, you need specific skills, and you can only play one instrument at a time. Golf is like, let's just walk around with us. It's basically a bushwalk, right, with a stick, except you get to hit a ball with a stick while you're walking around and you talk about life.
Yeah, I like it.
You like that?
Yeah.
Get into golfing. It's a long manicured bushwalk. Cycling is painful. But you've led a long journey. So let's just quickly run through.
You're saying I'm old, man? Is that what you're saying?
No, I'm saying you're experienced and wise.
Is that what it is?
Yeah.
I like it.
And also, at this point, you pretty much have to have a shaved head to be on the podcast.
I I was told that. I had a full head of hair before I
noticed
came
that.
here.
Yeah.
I was told you have to shave your head if you're going to come this.
I'm disappointed the Andre Agassi hair is gone, just to be honest. And to all the people that didn't get that joke, Google him. Because you would have looked good with the Andre. Did you have the ponytail?
No, mate, never. But you know, it's funny. I shaved my head when I was 8 because my hair was unruly. Went every direction. Dad had died.
Yeah.
He used to cut my hair. It was almost out of necessity that I just shaved it because it used to frustrate me so much.
Yeah.
And for years and years and years, I was like, yeah, I can grow this back whenever I want to.
Mm-hmm.
And over the last 10 years, I've realised, there ain't no growing it back.
So as a child, you come up with a practical solution to your hair, and then you just own it for the rest of it. You just own it.
It's been this way since then. There was one time that my wife, early in our marriage, she wanted to say, well, she said, I really want to see you with hair. Mm-hmm. So I grew it, and the worst possible trait came out. I became vain. The hair had to be perfect. You know, if I put on a hat, or I ride motorbikes, right? So if I put on a helmet, I had to take a hat with me because I couldn't have someone seeing messed up hair. And then it all came flooding back. No wonder I shaved it when I was 8 because this is just too much hard work.
So I'm looking at your personality test, and is perfectionist in there somewhere?
Yeah, it's pretty high on there.
Yeah. So you've got that real neat. How neat is your bathroom? Is the question?
Yeah, no, the bathroom's pretty neat.
The bathroom's pretty neat. Is the toothbrush like upright? There's no dew around the toothbrush.
No, mate.
Yeah. Is there any soap scum anywhere?
No.
Do you need a hug?
No, I'm fine. More likely, do you need some help in your life?
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, and dude, I'm just going to invite you to my house for tea. And I'm guessing all I have to do is show you the bathrooms.
No.
You won't even come to tea. You'll just clean my bathroom.
No, I won't clean it. I'll just eat the dinner and then judge you on the way home.
Oh, you're that guy.
Yeah.
Okay. So there's gonna be a hate podcast afterwards. Tell you what's wrong with this bloke. His bathroom is disgusting. So listen, no, we're going to talk about you. So you've done a lot of things in your very short life so
thank
far.
you. Thank
very
you.
short life. Starting with hairdressing when you were 8. But you've trained as a golfer, was your first passion in life. Then you somehow, and I'll get to the story, but you found your way into church life and church ministry as a pastor at Blackie North. You're an associate pastor, is that right? Then you took on a lead pastor role at Heathmont.
No, I was like the 2IC.
Yeah, okay.
But the next version of that was I was about to go and plant my own church, and I kind of feel like God saved me, and maybe the church.
Maybe the church
doing that.
From doing that. Yeah. And so from there, you got into missions organisations.
Yeah.
With OM.
Yep.
And you're CEO of OM for
7.5 years.
7.5 years. So I'm just going to say, every time you say the years do add up.
They do add up.
People are going to give away. And you've just finished a season. Well, a year ago you finished a season with World Vision.
Yeah.
What was the role there?
So churches, schools, youth, community engagement, faith and development, a few other bits and pieces thrown in there.
Yeah. So someone said, "Hey, there's a job going. Does Noddy want it?" He's like, "Yeah, I'll do that. Add that to the."
I used to joke about the fact that it was a bit like calling Noddy. Whatever you felt like.
Yeah. Noddy will solve it.
No, just more Noddy will make more mess in it, but it'll be fun.
Right. Exactly. So you bring the joy, and then the managey people come along and go, "That jerk."
just broke it. Broke it and walked away.
Speaking of new things, so now you've taken inspiration from the Cain and Abel story, and you've started a new movement about young people impacting the world with the gospel, and it's called the Abel Movement.
It is.
So tell us, just give us a quick picture of that. So
the snapshot is literally one of the last 3 years in World Vision. We worked with this incredible research company called Barna, who are a global research. They do all sorts of stuff, but we were with them and partners with them when we were going through kind of, the Gen Y and then Gen Z deep dive.
Yeah.
And so kind of walking through both those eras with them, it was fascinating what was coming out. And Gen Z really caught my attention, being a father of a soon-to-be 12-year-old, who's actually classed as Gen Alpha. Most generations that come through behind are always living in the shadow of that which has gone before them. So they have this amazing opportunity to either take that which is broken and make it right again, or live in the shadow of that and think, this is bad because of blah, 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 and they cast blame. When I was looking at some of the statistics coming out for Gen Z, it was fascinating. There's a few things that stuck out to me. One, that 1 in 4 12 to 17-year-olds on our planet today believe that they'll be famous.
Isn't that wild?
Totally wild.
Totally.
I mean, so, I know you, right? Pop star extraordinaire, Justin. Like, don't play it down. Like, amazing.
Oh, look,
right?
huge. We were huge in Blackburn North in
Blackburn North.
1997. Yeah, it was massive.
It was massive.
Huge.
Massive, right? But if you think about this, right? Like, even from that experience, trying to become at the very top of your field in any given kind of scenario, you had to be in the top 0.1%.
Yeah, I would think so.
Right? And so for us in our generation, it's almost ludicrous. You wouldn't speak it out loud that I want to be famous or I want to make it, because you just know the odds are stacked against you.
Yeah.
But so for me, that was the first thing that captured my attention. Of far out, 1 in 4 are actually willing to say, "No, I'm going to be famous."
And fame is a job option for them.
Fame is a job option. So an influencer is their job option. And so when I was looking at that, the thing that kind of dawned on me was, man, we're selling ourselves short here. If we have a generation coming through thinking that that's what they want to do and that's their job and that's what they're going to contribute to society, the world, the next generation, that's going to be their legacy, a flash in the pan where they're trying to be seen on a medium that by definition shrinks them onto a screen rather than enlarging their field in life. There's a problem. And at what cost does it take for something to go viral?
It's massive, yeah.
All right, so I sat with that, and that was really the main thing that kind of stuck with me. And then everything else flowed from there, and the result, the short version of this is we made it into the top 10 around the world for worst mental health in our young people.
As in Australia?
Australia did.
Australia, top 10.
And at the time I'm working at World Vision, and World Vision has this incredible history where, the whole not-for-profit sector has been started off the goodness of average, everyday people. I mean, if you listen to the CEO, Daniel Wordsworth, at World Vision, you'll hear him say this a lot. It's the average, everyday Australian, their desire to do good in the world that started this whole thing, and he's right. So if we actually just extrapolate that out further, in order to continue to play our part for the most vulnerable in this world, we have to be healthy ourselves to understand, and not caught up in our own sense of ambition constantly, to understand that that is part of what it is to be a human being, created by a creator, to actually bring redemption back to a brokenness in the world. And if our young people aren't healthy to be able to do that because their mental health is so poor and they're so caught up with this idea of my goal is to become famous, seen through this medium, then how are they ever going to actually care for the widows, the orphans, the sick, the needy, the imprisoned?
Well, I think the conversation we're having is largely about how do we help our children see what's right in front of them as opposed to what's off at a distance, through this glass box that they have. Yeah. That, I think that the idea, and I've got, teenagers, older teenagers, 18 and 16, the two older boys are, nearly 19 actually, and they would genuinely, and I think they're joking sometimes, but influencer is it comes out. It's like, I could do this. My son has a podcast with his mate, and they're starting to gain traction, but of course there's 10 million of those out there. I'm thankful that in the sense that I feel like, because we talk fairly openly about it, their sense of self is fairly good. But that's not to say they haven't suffered at the beast that is social media, and that whole looking for an audience instead of looking for that. We used to talk about, you probably even preached it, we used to talk about the audience of one a lot, and I'm not sure I've heard that phrase as much recently, but you and I are that generation that started out analog, landed somewhere in the digital mess, and now I've got no idea what's going on. And
it is cool though.
It's wild, but it really does feel like the Wild Wild West keeps expanding. So every time you feel like, and this would be my take, every time it feels like they've mastered one part of that world, it just expands again. So the Roblox world of the kids gaming.
We've banned all this stuff in my house.
Oh, have you really?
Yeah,
right. Jump on that for a sec. So for you then, the Able movement is sort of this culmination of your life's work so far. You've got a son who's nearly 12, and then you're also doing some foster care as well. So you're highly engaged with kids in general. Are you scared of everything?
Yeah, 100%.
Don't you find?
Aren't you?
Yes, that's the point. This is the father figures conversation. Is I look at it and I think part of it we want to cover in this season is kind of living in a digital world or raising kids in a digital world. There are so many things that I try to, we talked about the bathroom before. You can tidy a bathroom, tidying up your online presence, chasing that thing that you let go through the internet and trying to get it back again. It's it's just scary. Even now, as I'm thinking about it, I get devastated for our kids. I worry about my own presence on social media. There was a season there where I felt, probably 10 years ago, where I felt like it was easy and you put up a picture of the fun thing you did and everyone went, that's fun. And then it became, the political pie throwing competition. And then I don't even know. Like, it feels like when I talk about this stuff, it's a mess, it's a behemoth, it's massive. And so then we have to, as you seem to be talking about, narrow it down to the here and now and narrow it down to your house. So let's talk about what you do in your house with the kids that you look after.
Yeah, okay. So, look, first and foremost, by no means is it perfect.
Seriously? Hey,
yeah.
The guest says he doesn't know what it's not perfect.
That's right, exactly. Okay, well, thanks for your time, guys.
Anyway,
and
it's been great. I'm coming here with a solution. What the heck?
No.
Absolutely.
This is the issue, right? It's part of the thing that makes it scary is that there's no one size fits all solution, and you're talking about something that is incredibly powerful and has advanced humanity like astronomically. Like even if we start thinking about AI as a next wave of what's coming, right? So anyway,
how many times have you used the phrase "that's not real" in the last 3 to 6 months?
Heaps.
The kids show me something, I'm like, mate, it's not real.
Yeah,
that person talking is not a real person. It's crazy.
So when you start to think about that, and I mean, I've got this really cool thing that I'll talk about a bit later if we can on AI and how you recognise some of the fakes and what's coming out. But I think back to our house for a moment. I noticed early on, so Jesse's a miracle boy, right? Like he took 13 years to come along.
Wow.
Right? So IVF journey, heartbreaking, all sorts of stuff. Like we prayed like crazy to become parents. And even how we kind of stepped into fostering was a little bit about this mindset of our family's not complete. We'd lost a kid after Jesse was born and, we'd fallen pregnant naturally, first time in 15 years.
Wow.
It was incredible. And then to lose it was heartbreaking. Right, and then we stepped in almost to the adoption stage first, and it was so funny. I'll never forget, Justin. We're at this information day for adoption, and basically by lunchtime, they'd gone through every reason why, especially my wife and I. I'm dark skinned, she's white. We were in our late 30s at the time. My dad had died of cancer, so I had a history of cancer in my family. Her dad had died of a brain tumour the year before. And basically, they just stacked up all these reasons and looked at us and said, just so you know, you'll pretty much never get a child.
Oh.
You're too old. People check off this, then blah, blah. You got this history. It's just not going to happen.
That must have been a gut punch and a half.
Oh, man. We had to do everything in our power not to just get up and leave. But we stayed. And after lunch, someone came in and they started speaking about fostering.
Right.
And they basically just pulled out the stats and just said, hey, here's the size of the waiting list. K's long. And here's how many kids got adopted out in Victoria last year. And if we now look at fostering, here are the number of kids, kilometres long, that need assistance and help and a safe place to go. And here is a small number of families willing to do it.
Yeah.
And so it was just that bit of a aha. And it was this work that happened in us to realise that our family actually was complete. We didn't need to try and complete it more. It was already there. And in actual fact, what we were going to do and what we really sensed God saying to us is open your home and allow someone to come in and encounter something in there that is countercultural that may help them change the narrative of their life.
Beautiful.
So it's off the back of that when we think about how does our house work, it's that countercultural piece that we play with a lot. So it's not a rules-based moment. It is we want to do something countercultural. So in other words, we don't have people that walk in and we say, right, no technology, and we're not doing this and we're not doing that. We actually say, no, we're going to celebrate life together. We're going to sit down and have meal times around a table together. We're going to ask questions of what's your favourite thing that happened today? What made you feel good? What made you feel bad? What are you worried about for tomorrow? And so we literally, whoever comes into our house, that's what we do. We have these practices that have meals together and that talk a lot and that play and we'll intentionally do these things that it's in the here and now to say, I will engage the person that's in the room in front of me so that their mind isn't thinking about the technology that they're not on.
So for you then, let's just talk about the practicals of that. So you've got things like some families will have, put your phone in the basket. Some people will have to turn the Wi-Fi off. Some people have actual physical things they do around the space. Do you have any stated rules? I hear you talking about the values in your home, and you're trying not to. There's no 10 commandments on the wall,
No.
but these are the values you espouse, and the intention behind the value is clear. I want to actually engage with you. I want to, be in the here and now with you. Are there other things that you do practically around that, or is it just that once those values are engaged, the phone seems to disappear a bit?
Correct.
Yeah.
So the only thing that we have is I just don't have screens on during the week. So my son won't watch TV during the week.
That is wild. And I'll tell you why that's wild. Because I love watching everything. So I can't model that. Would be my first thing.
I model it after he goes to bed. As in like, oh, we'll watch shows.
Yeah.
No problems.
Yeah.
But after he's gone to bed.
Right. So at the moment, or has this been his whole life?
This is from the time he turned about 4 or 5, and I noticed something that, like every parent out there, life's busy. You got a small child that's going nuts about doing something, and you just need a break. You need time to cook dinner or think about something else or have an adult conversation, and so you hand your kid a screen. Mm-hmm. I noticed that it was like watching an addict come off a high and go through a massive low every time I took a screen off him.
Yeah.
And I realised it's changing who he is. It's not okay.
So now you're heading into the grade 6. You're heading into. Does your school have laptops for the kids?
Yep.
That sort of gear. So is that a different conversation now?
No, same thing. When he comes home, there's no digital time.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean that's very different in my house. So I'm always wary, like I say to parents all the time, like you have to do what you can manage
and what works for you.
Yeah, and that's why I say straight up, that we have 5 kids, so it's a pretty busy time, and Jody and I are home at different times of the day, and there's all sorts of things. So there's elements of it that I simply can't control. But yeah, I respect anyone that can do what you're doing. Could I ask a very blunt question? You've got the one child. Is that part of it? You can engage that because it's 2-on-1.
So 100%, you could have the argument that goes both ways. You could say one child, that's easier. There's 2 of you, is going to conquer, etc., etc., etc. But the reverse is true as well. With one child, there's no siblings for them to go and play with. You can't say, no, turn that off or go outside and play with someone else.
Yeah.
So in actual fact, in some elements, it's harder because of the fact that it's always you that they're coming to.
Yeah. So you've got to be, you feel like you've got to be much more present.
Correct.
So have you done other things environmentally? Do you have, you change the swing set out for a cubby house or done other things, do the ping pong table? What have you done to...
Yeah, so we've got a trampoline and, a cubby house, and we're incredibly blessed that we live in Warrandyte, and so it's bushland, and so we can walk and we can do stuff. But sport's been another one. So, I said to Jesse from an early age, you have to play a team sport. Mm-hmm. Because pretty much all my sports have all been solo.
Yeah.
And, which... is great, don't get me wrong, but there's something you learn in team, especially as a young person, that I think is incredibly important, especially in today's day and age.
Did you grow up with siblings?
Yep.
How many?
Just one.
Just one. Older, younger?
Older. But I also grew up in the highlands of Papua New Guinea, and so we had a tribe of people around us. Right,
so much, incredibly... Yeah. So somehow you've grown up in a large community and a very connected community in Papua New Guinea. You've entered into solo sports, but the lesson you've potentially learnt from that is, did you feel alone in that? Is that what you mean? And so you went, Jess, I'm going to get you in team sports. What was it that you learnt as a kid that you went, I'm not going to do that as a dad?
Yeah, so I recognised in me that I didn't like having to rely on other people to create my own fate. Mm-hmm. Yep. So that's terrible, isn't
Lead
it?
ahead. Yeah.
So I wanted to be the one that would actually do it. I'd either rise or fall based on what it is that I put in. And I probably recognised the dysfunction of some of that as I got older, and the need for incredible team members around me that are far better than me at pretty much everything, and that when they succeed, you can get a lot further in life.
Yeah, it's the all boats rise on the same tide. Right. So, but I think it's interesting to me, even learning that about yourself, Because I think everyone that leads in any capacity has a stubbornness to say, I did this myself, or I will do this myself. That, it's a lie. None of us ever did any of it ourselves.
100%.
Which is, again, why the isolation of social media and such makes you feel like you're in charge. I feel like it's another space where people go, this is the world I'll be in charge of. And then it swallows you whole.
So isn't it funny, right? We've spoken about, and if you've been listening, you probably hear the word control come out a bit. How can I control this? As a parent, we think, how do we control this? How do we, as an individual or even a young person, how do I control this? I think part of it, too, is that built-in desire, it's actually not real. Control is an illusion.
Amen.
So the idea of wanting to control any of it is actually a fallacy. So it's not, how do we control this? It's, how do we accept that this is our new reality and find a way through it to have a better outcome at the end?
So do you guys have a plan? Jesse's 11 going to 12. Do you have a plan for the next 6 years when it comes to, because you will have to slowly release the house, so to speak. So for instance, in my family, my 12-year-old he doesn't have a phone, but he has a watch that we can call him on, so he can tell us where he is and things like that. We can send a family text message, that sort of stuff. And so the discussion about when does a child get a phone, that's every parent has that conversation.
Okay, you're going to laugh at this, right?
I won't.
You may.
Okay, I'll see what happens.
So Jesse's very good at baseball, and so he had the opportunity to go and represent Australia last year in under 12s, played in Japan. So he gets billeted out. We went over with him, but we didn't stay with him. And over a 16-day period, he played like every single day, 40-degree heat, 100% humidity, public transport to and from all these places, different grounds, and then the tournament. So we saw him at training and then the tournaments, and that was kind of it. Then we had one day of touring with him. But because he was overseas with a team, with people that we didn't know, we thought, what happens if he misses the train? What happens if something happens or he gets separated? And so we went through this big thing of, oh my goodness, we're about to give him a phone.
Ah, okay.
So we grabbed an old phone, put in a SIM card or whatever, and just made it so that he could have WhatsApp over there. And I went through this big, almost dilemma of, we've created this amazing space of not having something that's an addiction for him. And I mean, don't get me wrong, he loves tech and he loves screen time. So come weekend...
That's normal.
Oh my goodness, he's... Like, sometimes I'll be saying something to him and I find myself getting frustrated that he's not responding to me because of the fact that he's hooked in on something that he doesn't get a lot of.
Yeah, sure. He's mainlining.
Exactly, right? And so I'm thinking to myself, oh my goodness, I'm about to put the very thing which I know is bad for him in his hands with no controls around whatsoever. I'm not there with him. So I can't tell whether he's going to be staying up late at night, playing on his phone now because we've just given him one to him while in Japan. And what are we going to do? And it was funny because I was trying to figure out some plans. I walked into JB Hi-Fi and I had this dilemma and I'm almost talking out loud to my wife. She's standing there and the sales guy's standing right there. And he looks at me and he says, I understand where you're coming from, but at some point you're just going to have to trust him, aren't you?
Right. Parenting tips at JB Hi-Fi.
Wowzers.
Nice work, salespeople.
Yeah.
And love it.
I was like, okay.
Yeah.
So anyway, we get this plan. We put him over. I give him the phone. When we get there, I'm sending WhatsApp messages, really encouraging, etc., etc., etc. Nothing. Nada.
Yeah.
Not a thing back from him. I'm watching on Life 360. I'm watching the battery drain, over time and not getting recharged. I'm thinking, what is he doing? Finally, I see it go back up and I get one message from him the day before the tournament starts and it says, Daddy, I feel nervous.
Yeah.
And I wrote back to him and I said, Bud, you've put in hours and hours of training every single day for years.
Yeah.
I said, it's normal to feel nervous, but you've done all you can. Just go and have fun. And he wrote back and he said, thank you. That makes me feel much better. Good night. And then I didn't see, I saw him the next day at the thing. And then I sent him some messages after the game saying, hey, amazing. No response, nothing. 2 days later, I see him at training and I say to him, hey, you can kind of check that phone and message back. He goes, Daddy, I don't think you know how busy I am.
I ain't got time for that.
And there was this moment where I was just like, wow, that's, I was so worried about putting it in his hands, but I realized that because of the fact that the practice hasn't been there in the environment that he's in, he's having so much fun and engaged with other things and he's there for a particular reason, there was no downtime or dead time for him to just go, oh, phone, I'm going to abuse it.
So what I'm hearing you say, I mean, again, I see you just from the brief chat we've had. You're a pretty disciplined cat yourself. You come from that semi-pro sporting background. You've done pretty much everything you've done at full tilt. Yeah?
Yeah, I've given it a go.
Yeah. So busyness, and I'm sure it's driven through passion, and I'm sure we could talk about life-work balance and stuff too if we had time.
No, we don't need to talk about that.
No, don't talk about that. That would bring a spirit of conviction. But Jesse's going to absorb that in his environment. So the busyness, the keep him busy approach, feels like you've done a fairly good job of, it's intentional to keep him busy, but it's not a control mechanism necessarily.
Not a control mechanism.
Yeah.
It's actually more a pattern, and this comes back to that one child thing too.
Yeah.
I think on reflection, we've probably never gone down to his level. We've expected him to come up to ours.
Mm.
And so I'm sure there's positives and negatives in there, probably mostly negatives, but it has meant that the bar of expectation is still up there, but it also means that we've engaged at a very fun level.
Right.
So I think it hasn't been busyness where it's hard work and we're all worn out at the end of it.
Mm.
I think it's instead of busyness, I would prefer to say it's high level of engagement.
Yeah. But you and Ali are both pretty high achieving kids though, right?
Oh, Ali's way better than I am. It's ridiculous.
And husbands, that is the correct answer.
I've always said she makes me look good.
Yeah.
On many levels.
No, I'm down with that. My wife has like 4 degrees or something, and anyway, she completed her masters whilst pregnant with our first child. So
what were you doing?
Useless. I was
Justin,
playing the guitar and I was bringing colour to the world,
playing
bro.
Guitar, colour.
I was.
No, I'm bringing colour to the world, bro.
You're so white right now. So white. Wow, just got to race straight away.
Yeah, you like that?
We haven't. That's episode 3, dude. So when it comes to, like, we're running out of time, man. We could talk for hours. Statistically, you've done the research. You're working in that space of trying to help kids get in touch with essentially what you and I would share, that love of, give them a passion for God and kingdom. And it's so, when you fall in love with that, it is so all encompassing that it gives you a direction and it gives you a drive. I still think that hope as an anchor for your soul, which Jesus taught us and is reiterated all throughout the New Testament especially, is that the hope that we have is wherever we put our focus, right? So if you're hoping to get famous, if you're hoping to become an influencer, you will sink your life further and further into this thing that, and we've seen it happen at Each You Alive. And I think some of the simple things I did as a kid was I learnt how to read a chapter of the Bible each day. I learnt how to journal. For me, I learnt how to, I didn't know I was learning how to write songs, but I was taking psalms and trying to sing them over chords and things like that. So, engaging the natural skill I had in music and doing this discipleship process with it, which, discipleship has embedded in it the word discipline. So for you on the sporting field, I mean, so much we could talk about, because you've dealt with a lot of grief in your life. And the discipline of, say, golf or whatever it was, those things were they the cathartic measures, the things that kept the rhythms in your life?
Yeah, I actually think golf became an addiction more than anything else.
Is that your penchant? Do you tend to take things to an addictive level? Yeah.
Yep.
So you're fighting that all the time, I assume?
All the time.
Yeah.
And so, to the point that if I pick up something new or find something new that I like, I almost have to put a stop to it, because I know that there's just not enough room for it, no bandwidth.
So you have to be hyper-disciplined about your disciplines.
Yeah.
Wow.
So I choose which ones I'm going to focus on.
Okay.
So can I we are going to run out of time. I know that, but I'm sure that we can chat again. I reckon one of the things, like, especially for listeners thinking, hey, how do we do this? What is it? Like, I mean, it's scary. It's all this stuff. It's this digital world. The answer is not, hey, just remove every screen in the house, because you want people to understand that the culture that we're currently in, you want to be fluent in the language.
Right.
Because
it's not going anywhere.
It's not going anywhere.
No.
So you still, because relationship is one of the key things that still has to occur. And so whatever mediums we're using to be able to do that, we want to influence it in a way that's healthy. So I had this moment a couple of years ago where it just felt like this was a God moment of an amazing story in wilderness that just highlighted to me what we should be doing as parents. And we're sitting outside, we're having dinner as a family. We're talking. It's just the three of us. No one else in the house at that point in time. And beautiful. And I know we're in Melbourne, right? So it's hard to believe. Beautiful evening.
Yeah,
beautiful, gorgeous.
So it was a Tuesday in January, and that was the next day was winter. Yeah,
pretty much.
Yeah.
No, it already hailed that day. And my wife's looking at this tree in our yard, and she sees this bird, and she's like, "Oh, what sort of bird's that?" And she grabs her phone, she walks over, and she takes a photo of it. And both her and Jessie are chatting away. Oh, I don't know what sort of bird's that. And I'm like, I'm pretty sure that's just like every other bird that lands in that tree. That's okay, but it's good that you guys are excited about it. So continuing eating, chatting away. While we're chatting, Al decides she is curious about this bird, so she chucks it onto the community group. She says, anyone know what this is?
Yeah.
The thing goes off.
Yeah.
I didn't know there were so many bird watchers, but it just, boom, it just
Yeah.
takes off. Next thing you know, someone's DMing her from the Australian Birdwatching Society and saying, can we please be in touch? We'd like to come over and have a look at that tree in your yard where that bird's landed.
Wow.
And I'm thinking to myself, okay, what is going on here? Anyway, he does. He rocks up like the next week, leaves this, almighty pamphlet. He stays for about an hour and a half. The reason I know that is because I was on work calls, and I noticed when he came up, and then when he left, I was like, oh my goodness, he was here forever, And I said to Al, what does it go? And she goes, oh, there was a Regent Honeyeater that we saw.
Sure.
And I'm like,
yeah,
okay,
one of
good.
them.
Yeah, one of them.
They're good.
Meant nothing to me whatsoever when
There's
she
no
said
sports team named after the Regent Honeyeater. No.
Definitely not. No. Exactly, right? And so when she said it, I was like, and? She said, oh, well, it's the first time that they've seen one in the wild for like, I can't remember all the details, right? But it was like 3 years or something.
Yeah.
And I said, really? She goes, yeah, they were almost on the verge of extinction, and they brought some back into captivity, retrained them, and then let them go. And this is the first time that they have been seen.
Wow, that's cool.
It was really cool.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, Regent Honeyeaters. So she starts telling me the story of the fact that these Regent Honeyeaters, the reason they became extinct or on the verge of extinction is because these young birds in their nest were supposed to stay with the parents for a really long time. And by staying with the parents teach them their bird song.
Right.
And this idea that birds have a song that they're known by, right? And what they were finding is that through changes in circumstance and all sorts of things changing in and around the environment that these birds are in, the parents were needing to leave earlier and were leaving them alone longer for periods of time. And while they're away, these baby birds are hearing other sounds around them, and they were introducing it into their own song, and so were no longer being recognized by mates to be picked up.
Yeah.
And the minute she said that, I'm like, oh my goodness.
There's a sermon in that.
There's a sermon in that, right? And, I mean, well, we think about it. In Deuteronomy, it talks about the fact, from the moment you get up to the moment you go to bed, keep talking about the ways of God. Keep reminding that next generation. Keep it on your heart. Keep it on your lips, your door frames, your homes, everything, right? And it's so that the next generation will understand the faithfulness, the goodness, and the way that God turns up in your life and does things, right? Zephaniah talks about the fact that God sings over us.
Sings over. I love it. It's 3:17.
Right?
Zephaniah 3:17, yeah.
And so when I think about these things for a moment, and I think about parenting, let's not get caught up in the, gee, parenting's hard in the digital world. Yeah, parenting's hard in every world.
Yeah.
But what if the simple thing we can be trying to do is to make sure that we as parents, custodians of these beautiful gifts that have been handed to us, can make sure they understand the song that is being sung over them. They can actually understand the songs that we sing ourselves in our own lives, so that they know that when they echo that, when they match it, that they can expect the same results as what we've been doing. And that maybe through that space, whatever gets thrown their way, whatever addictions, whatever stumbles they come across, when they put their head on their pillow at night, the song that sings in their head is one that has been profoundly life-giving from the parents that God has chosen for them in that moment.
Noddy Sharma, it's been a joy, my friend. Thank you so much for coming along, and thank you for chatting with us on Father Figures. We haven't solved it all.
No.
But that's the point. We're figuring it out. And I just appreciate your heart and appreciate your gift. And I reckon there's another 3 episodes that we'll do later in the year. So I'll ring your agent about that because I get a little addictive about things.
I'm in, mate. I'm in. This is my favourite topic around this sort of stuff, like parenting, culture, how it works, what's going on, what we can do.
Love it. Quick plug, Able Movement. What do we do to engage with that?
Jump on the website, so ablemovement.org. Feel free to send us a message, like us, follow us on Instagram, Facebook. We've just started launching more regular content, so you can grab some of it.
Anyone spotting the irony of this?
Yeah, I know. It's crazy, isn't it? I fought for it for a year, as in I don't want to do this. But as I said before, the medium that we have is a medium we have.
That's it. Well, listen, I probably won't chat to you in person, but I'll absolutely send you random DMs and some GIFs or GIFs. What are you into?
GIFs.
GIFs. Okay, I'm going with GIFs too. Episode 1, Season 2, done and dusted. Come on, you've got to agree with me. That was a cracker of a way to start. Thanks to Noddy for all of the wisdom, the insight, the challenge. And look, I'm probably not going to become a pro golfer anytime soon, but at least I've got some, some pathways to maybe... No, okay, I've given up on that. I'm going to stick to, podcasting and music, I suggest. Anyway, the point is this. I hope that you've been encouraged today and that you don't feel condemned by any of the measures that Noddy has put in place for his parenting or even some of the things I've said. The whole point is to find a rhythmic, wisdom-driven walk for you and your children. Ephesians 6, don't exasperate your children by coming down hard on them. Take them by the hand and lead them in the way of the master, and ask yourself the question, what is mastering your life? What has that master control over your life? And if the devices have too much control over your life, do something about the digital diet you're on. If the devices are having too much of an impact on your children, do something about the digital diet that they're on. But you know what? Yeah, you're probably having some impact on their digital diet, let's be honest. And so we have to look into the mirror and we have to ask ourselves, is my life sort of showing those fruits of the Spirit that we talk about? Joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faith, gentleness, and self-control. Just need a bit more self-control. Ultimately, we just want wisdom to walk well. Every child wants to be loved and led well, and so do you. So I hope that something we've said today or something we've pointed you toward today has helped. And if not, tune in next week. We might have something for you then. God bless.